What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes, and this is gonna be my Dagr analysis and review video as well as the review of the other units that are present on this banner, and I'll be rating these units on a scale for their performance as well as their fodder. So if you're new here, do consider subscribing and leaving a like because I do make a lot of FEH videos and these banner reviews do take quite a bit of time to make, so your support is much appreciated. So the unit that we are getting this month is going to be Dagr as a mythic unit. As infantry unit, I did kind of expect this because she was a candidate for the green color. So she's a light mythic unit who can boost up your resistance, and boosting up your resistance in Aether 8's offense is really good because extra visible resistance means that you have better matchups against a lot of the mages, which are going to be really common. Aether 8's defense is going to be filled up with a lot of mage threats, and also you take less damage against AoE specials, which are really popular on units like Ophelia, Lucina, stuff like that. So increasing your visible resistance is extremely good. And she's also the light mythic unit who can open up the 6th slot on the offense, similar to how Reginn opens up the 6th slot on offense for the Astra season. So she's going to be doing that for your team in terms of the mythic boost, and her weapon is Skinfaxi. This gives you +3 speed, and at start of combat if she's above 25% HP, then you get +5 to all of your stats, and she pretty much has the same condition as Chaos Ragnall, and this is like a Spectrum Unity essentially. So if she gets debuffed, she gets powered up, similar to Fallen Ike, which we have seen before. She also has Pathfinder as a skill that she has got in her weapon, and this pretty much allows the ally units to move through her space without counting their movement, which means that it pretty much gives them an extra movement. However, this doesn't mean that a cavalry unit can be able to traverse through a forest tile just because they are able to travel through, Dagr. And now Reginn can actually travel to this stone tile right in front of Lif. So that just shows you that she can get the extra movement as if she was starting out from Dagr's position. So this is going to be a really good thing for Aether 8's offense because it does, give you the value for positioning and stuff, and it does give you flexibility as well. And especially with ranged cavalry units and ranged nukes like Ninja Lin, for example, or even with just hit and run with those units, or even for just like collecting pots at the end of the match. So Pathfinder does have utility, but I feel like Pathfinder is going to be a bit better in Aether 8's defense than it is going to be in Aether 8's offense. I think for offense, stuff like Reginn's Canto is a bit more valuable. So that's her weapon, extremely stacked weapon with Chaos Ragnall effect. Instead of getting distant counter, she has got Pathfinder and extra +5 stats in exchange for that. So extremely good weapon, and she's got Dragon Fang, which is really not going to be a good special for her. She should be running like lower cooldown specials or just running Galeforce. And she's got Sun Twin Wing as her preferred skill. This preferred skill is basically going to be activating if she's above 25% HP, and if so, then she's going to be getting null follow-up as well as -5 speed and defense debuff on the foe during the combat. Because she's an infantry unit, she always would have been able to use null follow-up, but having a preferred skill is really good because this gives you the speed and defense debuff as well, which is absolutely amazing. And this is a really good skill, especially when we've got so many units with follow-up negation and impact skills, and also auto follow-up skills. So Sun Twin Wing is a really good thing, especially for a light mythic who's going to be facing stuff like Bramimond. Bramimond does have the auto follow-up, so having null follow-up is extremely good in the light season as it is. And then she's got Odd Tempest. I feel like this is a bit worse than Odd Tempest, and I'll explain why later on. But basically her base kit is really solid. We already know her stats because they are shown here, but let's switch to this screen. So we can see her stat spread, and what I feel about her is that she's gonna be a pretty good unit for supporting as well as for combat, but her main value is basically from Pathfinder in my opinion. The green color is not bad, and the fact that she's got the Chaos Ragnall effect just means that, debuffs are gonna be making her stronger. So if she faces like an infantry school, then she's gonna get powered up. If she gets panicked, that's gonna be really amazing. And she can also soak Bright Shrine pretty well, as you can see from her offensive stat spread. And she pretty much like dunks on Freyja because she is a combat mythic but also can support her allies, which is definitely better than what Freyja can do, which is just in combat. And like I said, null follow-up is good against Bramimond, but keep in mind that she doesn't have the highest resistance and she doesn't really get the extra stats from the blessings. So you're not going to be able to increase her stats like you could with some other unit who gets blessed. So that is going to be a thing that, just troubles any kind of offensive mythic. But she can definitely be a pretty good unit, and null follow-up also means that she can take on stuff like Brave Hector, Obviously, Bonfire Brave Hector is still going to be doing like tons of damage to her, but still having null follow up is really good against those kinds of annoying units. And she does have super boons in attack, speed, and resistance because we do know her level 1 stats from when she was an enemy unit. So those super boons are definitely pretty good, mainly the attack and speed super boon. She's still gonna be having like bad matchups like Duo Lift, for example, because she doesn't have damage reduction like Freyja. Even then, like Duo Lift just reduces that. And obviously Eddiewood is gonna be a bit of an annoyance, obviously, for any kind of green unit. Now, as for her skills, I think her base kit is fine, but you know, you could just run Life and Death if you want to soak Bright Shrine for your units. So that is always going to be an option that you could do. And you can also run Distant Counter or Distant Ward on her. Now, it might seem like she's just going to be a player face focus unit. Like, focusing on her with tanking is not going to be that good. But keep in mind that she gets +5 resistance from her weapon, ending up at 30 resistance. You could run another Sacred Seal, buff her up, and you can easily buff her up because even if she gets panicked, the unity effect that is present in her weapon is going to be making her stronger. So she can work as that, but I wouldn't really recommend her to be your solo tank or something like that. Not at all. What I'm proposing is that you can use her as a double tank or like triple tank in your team setup when you're running multiple tanks. So against like Havline or stuff like that, she does have, you know, things which she can do because of null follow up and the fact that she can be really fast. So those two things are an option, Distant Counter or Distant Ward. Distant Ward does make her matchup a bit better against Bramimond because Bramimond still hits incredibly hard, even though she's got null follow up. So those are some options if you want to consider, obviously expensive ones. And Heavy Blade 4 is an option that you could run for Galeforce because keep in mind, like, she is an infantry unit, which means that she can run Time Pulse to have a 4-turn Galeforce. She can also get Infantry Pulse down by like an infantry dancer like Sylvia maybe, or Tethys even, that many people run. Or even like the Asuka Trio, which, you know, many people use as their bonus units. And definitely a bit better than Freyja in this regard because of the infantry only skill that she has got access to. Of course, unity skills are always going to be an option like it is on Fallen Ike. It's just going to be giving you a lot of power whenever you get debuffed. So debuffs do lose a bit of value in Aether Raid's defense because of Dagr if she does get common, because she can just get more powerful. She's just going to be getting faster if she gets hit by like Bright Shrine. And like I said, because Dagr cannot get the extra stats from blessings, she's going to be having low HP, so she's pretty susceptible to Panic Manner, which is actually good in this case because she can get stronger with that as she gets more debuffs. For her slot B, her preferred skill is really good. Having null follow up is really amazing, but you could always run like Wings of Mercy if you are running some kind of Galeforce team, or you know, you could even have a damage reduction skill if you really want to. But I really like null follow up way more because we just have so many cheating skills and cheating units with these annoying weapons. So null follow up is always going to be having value. And for slot C, now like I said, Even Tempest isn't the best because either you attack on the first turn against very oppressive teams, or you wait until turn 3 for the Bolt Tower, or you just, you know, try to get the pots on turn 7. All of these are odd turns, and that's why in players' hands, Odd Tempest is a bit better because you can have increased movements in those really like important turns. Even Tempest isn't really that good. Of course, it can increase their movement, but you'll have to attack on turn 4 when, you know, enemies just gonna get healed up from all of the Bolt Tower damage, or you have to go in and attack on turn 2. So Even Tempest is not the best option. It can help, but you know, Odd Tempest is a bit better. That's obviously really expensive on her. So she does have other slot C options. Attack Smoke could be done if you're running her in like a double tanking or triple tanking setup. Time Pulse is going to be a really good option for any kind of Galeforce team, for giving her the 4-turn Galeforce. And Pulse Smoke is a pretty premium option, so her slot C does have some options. And for her Sacred Seal, like Heavy Blade works for any kind of Galeforce build, or you could just run, you know, attack speed solo or attack defense solo, just to give her some attack and some bulk or even speed. And Life and Death can work for the Bright Shrine soaking because she does have really good offensive stat spread. You want to run a lower cooldown special like Moonbow or Glimmer. Moonbow is going to be helping you quite a lot against like tanky units. I do like Moonbow more than Glimmer. And Soul is also an option for healing. And the only higher cooldown special that you should run on her is like Galeforce. She can be a really good Galeforce unit, especially with Even Tempest. And her null follow-up in her weapon is really good as well against like busting through a lot of the follow-up negation units. For my use case, I'm probably going to use her as a triple or double tank. Because she can deal with a lot of the units which my main carry tank is going to be struggling with, which are going to be blue units. So for my use case, that works out. It really depends on your team and what kind of units you use in the light season and how you want to build her up. Now even though she's a really good unit, I still have given her 9 out of 10 because I'm rating her on the fact that how she is as a light mythic, and I'll expand on this later on as you'll see. For Fodder, you do have attack speed push 4 and even Tempest at the same time, which you can inherit. Attack speed push 4 is really good, but I feel like even Tempest is not the most consistent skill, and even when it comes to Tempest skills, Odd Tempest is just better like I explained before, because of how it functions. Still, you know, she does have that value with that rare Fodder. Now overall I feel like Dagr is a pretty good unit, but she's not a must-have right now at the very least, because I feel like Light Season is a bit easier than Astra Season. The reason being is that we don't have that many insane mythics. The only like powerful mythic that we have is Bramimond that we have to constantly face. And until we get like a 7-slot dark mythic, I don't think she's gonna be like a must-have unit. You can still do fine with like 5 units in my opinion. And other light mythics are pretty good as well. So it really depends on where you stand in terms of ether rates. If you really focus on ether rates, then yeah, she could be a pretty good option for opening up quad mythic setups, because with these 6-slot unit you can easily run quad mythics and get so many stats, because you can just have like a low merged or unmerged mythic in your 4th slot to just get the buff from them, because your 6th slot does really contribute to your scoring. For many people this might be something that they really want to get. Dagr can help you in combat, but to a degree. You cannot really shove her into like the space of 5 units and she'll take on all of them. Like I said, you have to probably use her in like double or triple tanking setups. You can also use her as a Galeforce unit, and she also provides you the support with Pathfinder, which is going to be helping you quite a lot against like oppressive teams. Movement and positioning is like everything, so Pathfinder does have a lot of value there. And if you want to have like a 6-slot unit, then of course she's a no-brainer, because we're not going to be getting any kind of light mythic for at least like 8 months. So if you want to use the 6th slot in the light season, then she's pretty much going to be your option. Like I said, it really depends on where you stand in ether rates and how much you play and how much you really care, because in the light season you can even function with 5 units if you have strong teams and strong units, which you have been using. So overall she's basically a hybrid of a combat mythic and also someone who can give you a bit of support. Pathfinder can help you with positioning, getting to the pots and stuff like that, and in the combat she does have null follow-up, which is pretty good, and the Chaos Dragonal effect is extremely strong, especially if people just keep using debuffs and stuff like that. She's gonna get even more powerful, and she can just soak the Bright Shrines really well for many of your main carry units. And now I'll go over how I feel about all of the light mythics and where she stands. So I feel like Peony is the queen of the light season. It's really hard to, you know, have something better than Peony, because she's a dancer. She gives you the ground orders buff, which is the main part of why she's so good. That is just absolutely amazing for the mobility, and your dancer being a mythic unit is absolutely amazing. Milla and Air I feel like are on the same level. It really depends on what kind of team you're using and what kind of utility you want out of these units, because Milla can give you the isolation, which is really good against rally traps and stuff like that, dancers, but there are also anti-isolation skills like Odd Recovery and Sara that we have got. And we're also going to be getting 7th slot at some point, which is also unisolatable as long as the entire Ether Rates defense team is alive. So Milla does have some issues with the isolation with those kinds of skills that we have got now. And not to mention Dancer Eldigan is also a dancer who's pretty isolation proof for the most part. Still, Milla can give you the extra stats with Nurturing Breath, which is really good. And the reason why Air is so good is because she is a flying range unit, which is really amazing for getting rid of the structures, getting to the pots. And she also has the access to Disarm Trap, which lets you test the traps easily, and that can also help you with the Galeforce teams for using the Air Force strategy. Sparkling Boost is also pretty decent, and just having a range flying unit is really amazing in air. Now keep in mind that this is pretty much my impression of Dagr right now from what we have seen, so I may be wrong in the future or this might be right, but still I just want to share my opinion. I feel like Dagr is gonna be better than Freyja, and she's gonna be worse than, you know, the existing light mythics like Peony of course and Milla Air. Those are really solid, but still she does have her own, you know, niche because she can open up the 6th slot. So that's a huge value that she brings, and Pathfinder is also pretty good for support, and she can be a pretty good combat mythic as well. Obviously she can excel in combat only to a degree because she doesn't really get the extra stats from the blessings, and she is also not like a full support unit like Peony or Milla. So that's basically where Dagr stands, and you know, she can open up the 6th slot, so that is quite valuable. Now Freyja as a unit is not bad, but just when we are comparing the mythic units, support mythic units are going to be aging to be much better, like Milla, Peony for example. Freyja is basically like a full combat mythic, that's it. Now that's not bad, I've used Freyja a lot and she does help you in many situations, but compared to what other things these mythic units can do, her value as a mythic isn't really gonna be as strong as these support-oriented mythic units because, like I said, these offense mythic units cannot get the extra stats unless they are in the bonus season. So that can be a big detriment to these kinds of combat-oriented mythics, and that's why the support mythics are always gonna be aging to be much better as the game progresses. I'm basically evaluating these on how they bring value to your team as mythic units with support and stuff like that. So that's gonna be my opinion of light mythic units. I know it's probably a bit early to rank Dagr like this, but based on my experience, like these kinds of support mythics are always gonna be, much better because they're gonna be really flexible, can work with any kind of playstyle. And now let's move on to the other units present on this banner. So like I explained before, basically Dagr is a bit better Freyja because she can work better as a combat mythic because of having null follow-up in her slot B, which lets her deal with Bramimond better. I have seen a lot of plus 10 Freyjas attack my defense, and I do have a Bramimond and he has killed easily plus 10 Freyjas. So Bramimond is a really annoying thing for even like a highly merged, highly invested Freyja because of his like auto follow-up. So that is always going to be a bad matchup for her, which is not good for a light offensive mythic unit. She does have the damage reduction, which is really good, and Binding Necklace is also pretty nice, but as a combat mythic unit, she does have some issues which I'm just highlighting. She can function pretty well as a Galeforce unit as well, and in double or triple tanking strategies, as it is with a lot of these combat mythic units as I explained before, so there she does have that value. As for Fodder, she has attack speed solo 4 and pulse smoke 3, which unfortunately cannot really inherit at the same time, so you gotta choose between one of them. Still, it's a pretty good Fodder. Even though Brave Edelgard is a really good axe armor unit, Legendary Edelgard can still stand out and be unique because of Raging Storm, and that just allows her to function as a really amazing Galeforce unit. Amir does give you the attack debuff, so it makes it easier to trigger something like Heavy Blade. Amir does have the attack debuff, which makes it easier to trigger Heavy Blade, and it also stops the enemy follow-up attacks if she's alone. So it's a pretty good weapon for the niche that she's really good in, and you can easily run something like Heavy Blade 4 in slot A and run Quick on Pulse to make Galeforce a 4-turn special, and she can be a really good Galeforce unit, and she can be a really good unit who can hit like 3 times and potentially kill up to 4 units. So she's going to be quite unique because of Raging Storm, and that's pretty much her niche. She's also a pretty good scoring unit in Arena, and she's going to be helping you quite a lot with Raging Storm. You just need to run a slot C skill that is tier 4, and she can score pretty high. As for Fodder, she does have Armored Stride, which is unique, and she's the only unit who has got this, but there are not really too many armor units who really want Armored Stride, and they can still work with something like Armor March. Not to mention, we do have the save skills now, which are going to be really amazing for most of the armor units. So Armored Stride does have the competition and isn't really the best skill for most armor units. Still, it's a bit unique, so she does have some value. Duessel is a really good Lance Cavalier who's so min-maxed for his bulk and attack. Obsidian Lance is such a good weapon, giving him the auto follow-up as well as attack and defense debuff. And he's already really bulky. He already comes with lull attack defense and defense rest solo. So even with his base kit, he's such a tanky Cavalier, and I'm not wrong to say that he's one of the best Lance Cavaliers and even one of the best Cavaliers in the entire game. Anyone who has faced Duessel knows that how insanely tough he is to crack because of his bulk, and the fact that he can have auto follow-up is even more annoying, and the mobility of a Cavalier is of course really good as well. For his Fodder, he does have defense rest solo, or he could inherit lull attack defense at the same time. I think at some point we're going to be getting rouse skills on free-to-play units, so those 2 skills are mainly the ones that you should focus on, and unfortunately cannot really inherit both of them at the same time. You gotta choose between one of them. Defense rest solo 4 could be helpful for many kinds of tanks, and lull attack defense is, going to be pretty solid for any kind of physical unit who's slow. Guinivere is easily a top tier blue mage because of her weapon, and the fact that it has got the self-healing as well as the effective damage against home units makes her a fantastic range chick. And she also has a really min-max stat line as well, with having high speed and high resistance. This overall makes her a fantastic unit to be used in the modern times, where we see so many annoying mage units and so many annoying range threats. Having used her a lot myself, she just destroys a lot of teams that just rely so much on mages and range units, and that is amazing. As for Fodder, she does have attack rest push 4 and lull attack resistance, which you can inherit at the same time, or you could also inherit attack rest push 4 and join drive rest, which are really high scoring skills which you could inherit at the same time. So as a Fodder, she just has a lot of value, and even just as a one-off copy, Guinevere is going to be a really fantastic unit for anyone's barracks, honestly. Legendary Lucina has definitely aged better than a lot of the older legendary units because of future vision and how unique it is, and still she can be pretty fast in the modern times as well with her stat spread. She also does have access to B-Dual Infantry 4 now, so she can score better in Arena, and future vision is just going to be a pretty unique thing that she's going to be always having the utility of. She obviously isn't really as threatening as her father, Legendary Chrom, but still overall she's quite decent. She doesn't have any fodder whatsoever, which is definitely going to be making her a dud unit if you don't really want to merge her up, so that is going to be a bit annoying. Sara is easily one of the best staff units in the entire game because of the fact that she has got amazing offensive stat spread, and Kia staff is such a good preferred weapon. So it does have really good range, and it can basically get rid of isolation, panic, or any kind of penalty on an ally who has got the lowest HP within the 4 tile radius of her. And this allows her to have really amazing utility in Aether Raid's defense because people are going to be using isolation with Bridal Fiorm and Milla, so she does have a lot of value. You pretty much have to match the HP of your dancers if you have multiple dancers, and if you want to get rid of isolation on both of them, so that is something that you have to work out. So it isn't really, always going to be triggering like odd recovery, and you definitely have to play around with the HP of your units. Sara also has absolutely amazing fodder. You can inherit attack speed push 4 and joint drive res at the same time if you just sacrifice a Petrine. Not to mention she also has return plus, which is going to be having a lot of value if you have a highly invested staff unit, and any kind of staff unit is going to be wanting return plus because it's basically a reposition that is healing. Bramimond is still a very solid and threatening dark defense mythic unit. He has got Void Tome, which gives him a lot of attack power and also an auto follow-up, which can be really threatening to any kind of unit who doesn't have null follow-up or like follow-up negation, so he can be a really annoying unit to many people. Not to mention he has also got lull attack resistance and impenetrable dark, so he can really punish a lot of the tanking strategies because of these two skills. Impenetrable Dark is absolutely amazing skill when so many tanks use support units like male Corrin or Brave Lucina or Flame, and he can just ignore those kinds of units and just face the tanks themselves, and he can be a really annoying unit if you invest with the right skills on him. As for Fodder, he has got amazing skills in attack defense push 4 and lull attack resistance, which you can inherit at the same time. Any kind of bulky mage is going to be appreciating these two skills, especially lull attack resistance. Legendary Corrin was present in the Hero Rises banner, so most people have obtained her from there. She was much easily summonable and was also present as a spark unit, but still, as always, Legendary Corrin is definitely one of the better dragon units present in the game because of Negating Fang and Primordial Breath, which can give her the special acceleration, which is really fantastic. And Negating Fang not only gives you damage reduction but also gives you extra damage output, and all she pretty much needs is Mystic Boost as a Sacred Seal for the self-sufficiency. She also has like top tier fodder in distant counter and joint drive attack, and you can inherit that at the same time, and it's such a universal fodder honestly, so both as a unit and as a fodder she is a pretty good unit. Reginn is easily one of the best offensive mythics present in the game because of the options that she opens up thanks to the Canto skill and her amazing mobility as a cavalier. So Canto just pretty much allows you to hit and run, just break the enemy structures and run away, just reposition your ally and run away. Not to mention you also have pre-charged Sather Shell, so that packs quite a bit of punch for just dealing with a lot of frontliners that are pretty common. And she can also be used as a Galeforce unit, which is what I like to use her as, and she can be a really fantastic and flexible unit, and she's going to be seen in everyone's Astra team. So increasing merges on her is going to be helping you get better rankings in Aether Raids if you do care about it. If you don't really care about Aether Raids, then she does have some pretty top tier fodder as well, which you could inherit at the same time, like Sparrow 3 and Lull Speed Defense, which is quite universally useful for any kind of physical unit, to be honest. So Reginn is just absolutely fantastic unit, but she isn't really having best color sharing in this banner. It was a bit better in December where she was color sharing with Plumeria, but right now it's not the best one. But if you want to get more copies of her, then she's pretty much the best red unit in this banner. Legendary Marth has pretty hard in the Sword Infantry class because the competition is absolutely brutal, and he does have at least like some kind of niche in Binding Shield, and he can be a really fantastic Dragon Slayer in something like Arena Assault. Exalted Falchion is a preferred weapon with bonus doubler built into it, but lull skills are just getting so common that it can be really annoying. Still, because of his stat spread, he can definitely make use of some of the modern skills like Null Follow-Up and Spurn, which could be nice if there are no dragons on the enemy team and Binding Shield isn't going to be that useful. R-Dual Infantry 4 is also a new option if you want to score higher in Arena. And as for Fodder, he doesn't really have anything. Infantry Flash is the skill which he has got going, but even that is not really all that worth it. and you mostly are going to be merging up Legendary Marth as he doesn't have much usage as a fodder. Any kind of player face Sword Cavalier has insane competition against Eliwood with Blazing Durandal, and Legendary Eirika is no different, so Eliwood is just gonna be a better Galeforcer, and Legendary Eirika can get a lot of damage with Lunar Brace and something like Moonbow, but I would say that that's not really enough in the modern times, seeing as her stat spread and the competition that she's got going in her class type. She is also gonna be useful in Arena with Ardul Cavalry 4, which is newly released, but she has like miserable matchup against the modern water legendary units like Legendary Chrom and Legendary Dimitri, so it is going to be pretty tough, not to mention trenches are going to be making it even more annoying in Arena. Still, it's really nice that she gets special acceleration out of Storm Sieglint when she's just away from her allies. I really hope that she can get some much needed changes with Legendary Hero Remix because Eirika definitely deserves every last one of them. As for Fodder, she does have Attack Speed Solo 3, which could be pretty decent overall. Overall, this banner is pretty strong on its green color as well as colorless. Blue is pretty decent, but Legendary Lucina is gonna be a dud unit for a lot of people. Duessel and Guinivere color sharing is really amazing, but Legendary Lucina kinda ruins it a bit because she doesn't have good fodder. Red color is the weakest one by far because Marth and Eirika are not really as desirable. Reginn is sure really good, but the color sharing that Reginn has got going. Green is pretty good for getting merges on your light mythic units, especially Freyja and Dagr if you do use them a lot. And Legendary Edelgard is also a pretty good fire unit, especially if you care about arena scoring, and even just as a one-off copy, she is really strong. So let me know what you think about this banner and Dagr as a unit in the comments. I want to thank all of my YouTube members for their constant support, and if you enjoyed, then please be sure to leave a like and a comment. Helps me tremendously, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because I wish YouTube sub boxes were as good as Dagr when she gets debuffed. So that's it, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.